That means Boomer nor Gio here today. Instead, you got myself and Sal Licata. We call it a Subway Series Tuesday, an NBA Championship Tuesday, which we will get to at some point. Yeah, some Jet stuff and Giant stuff along the way as well, and some other oddities that we will throw your way. Right now, we throw a good morning and a hello to one Sal Licata. What's up, Sal?
Hi, Jerry. Good to be here.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah. What's going on?
Not a whole hell of a lot, actually. It's been weird because we haven't seen a whole lot of you over the last couple of months because you were filling in for Keith, or switching,
right,
to the that night shift, and now you're back. But we haven't seen you so much. I feel like it's been forever since we've seen each other.
Oh, right, because we'd have that crossover. I'd see you at 4. What time do you usually get in? 4 a.m.,
4 o'clock.
4:30? Yeah, that is a rough wake-up call. You know, it's not that much different than the overnights.
It's close, very close to the same thing.
Yeah.
That is true. But usually we get the 4:25, Sal comes out ready to hang himself.
Yeah, right.
He's been up all
pass
night.
out. Right. One or the other.
One or the other.
Knock on wood, I could drive home safely.
You look good and refreshed, like you actually slept last night.
I did sleep last night. I got home because I took off the late show of SNY. I got home, I'd say, around 8:15 or so, and went to bed around 10:30-ish. That's a pretty normal night's sleep.
It's terrible, actually.
Why?
It's better than normal, but still not great.
For me, it felt pretty
good.
For
you.
I woke up at, let's say, 4:05-ish.
It's not awful, I guess.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we do here.
Yeah.
So
Brutal.
you're at SNY, and you've been there, obviously, every night. Al and I were talking about this yesterday, and we'll do the Nuggets for sure in a little while.
Will we?
Yeah, because I thought.
Did you watch that game?
I watched the last. No, I went to sleep at 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
because I figured no Mets, no Yankees. But I watched the last 8 minutes this morning.
Okay.
I hate to say this, but you watch the final 10 minutes of a basketball game, you feel like you got a pretty good feel for the game. Really interesting final 10 minutes of that game. But whatever, we'll get to that in a little while.
I just don't get it and care about it. You know what I watched when I went home last night? Ted Lasso. Caught up on that. Night off. The wife's putting the baby to sleep. Did. I got that place to myself. That's why I could have went to bed at like 10, 9:30. I was like, I got to enjoy peace and quiet
time
here. Yeah, so I watched Ted Lasso. I can't get into the NBA Finals. Anyway, we'll get into it a little bit later.
No, just a little bit. Not a whole lot. Just a little bit. But so we were discussing this yesterday. We were trying to think of all the Subway Series. And listen, I know when the game starts tonight, we're going to be into it. You've got Scherzer, Severino. There's other things going on with Luke Voigt and with the Mets. And neither team is in a very good position right now. Both 9 out. Rays actually lost to the A's, so I think have won 6 in a row. Go figure. And the Mets now 9 out because the Braves lost 2 last night. But it's a weird feeling going into this game because for the first time in a long time, it feels like, as we sit here right now, that neither team is really doing much of anything this year. And while they might be capable of a big run at some point, we haven't really seen it. Yankees have played better, clearly.
Plus, the Yankees are hurt, though.
Right, and that's part of the problem going into this game and this series is you don't feel like the Yankees are whole, the Mets aren't whole. They're both 9 games out. Of all the years you can think, is this the most type of feeling going into this type of series?
I think more so coming off of last year where it was maybe the most highly anticipated Subway Series where both teams were in first place. I think the first time ever that had happened. So you look at off of last year, you look at the expectations, going into this year and now where we're at. There is a letdown, or it feels like it. However, once we start to get closer to game time, and I say this every year, because I've been going since 1997. For the first one, I remember going and it was my world growing up as a Mets fan. Oh, in 97, the Mets sucked, and not a lot has changed, of course. But you go into that thinking, this is the World Series, you got to beat the Yankees. So I lived through 97, 98, 99, 2000, and for me, it'll never get better than that. And I always say, it's not the same. It's not the same. But then once the game gets started,
agreed.
It doesn't matter who's on the field, who's not there. It's still Mets versus Yankees. And those bragging rights, it does mean a lot to the fans.
Are you going tonight or tomorrow?
No chance.
Oh, okay.
I'm done with those games. I retired. I put my time in.
You retired.
Yeah. First of all, I hate that they do it on the weekdays now, which I get why, but it used to be always Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, when they're playing the 2-game series, it's during the middle of the week. I'm not going. Are you going to these games?
No. I will watch them, but I will not be going.
I actually don't even know if it's they used to be impossible tickets to get. It would be a sellout no matter what. It could be.
Well, they're sold out. I just don't know.
Are they sold out?
Yeah. We checked yesterday. I don't know what the resale market is for it, just because the teams aren't great right now. And again, when you got the likes of Aaron Judge and Pete Alonso not even available to play, that takes something away from it as well.
Right.
Though the pitching matchups are good on paper because on the field the pitching hasn't been great by 3 of the 4 so far this year.
Well, on paper, the Mets are good. In reality, they're not. I mean, that's the thing. With the Yankees, on paper, they actually don't look good, right? You look at their lineup, the Yankees, the other night.
I agree. The Sunday night game, you're looking at the lineup like, who are these guys?
I
agree.
I don't understand it. And Giancarlo Stanton, I mean, can you play,
I know.
dude?
I know.
So, but yes, you're right. They're going in with the pitching matchups, at least it seems. Oh, Scherzer and Verlander for the Mets, Severino's been throwing BP for the Yankees, but still, on paper, those are their 2 best pitchers as well. So that should be good.
And I do expect, I said this yesterday, I do expect that you will get the best out of Verlander tonight. Not Verlander, Scherzer tonight. I feel like this is the type of game, watching him last year in this setting, he was, the adrenaline was pumping and he was jacked up for it. And probably one of his best starts of the year was against the Yankees at Citi Field last year. So I do expect him to pitch well tonight because, God, does he need to. I mean, when you look at those 2 guys, the Yankees they're 9 games over 500. They have kept their head above water with all the injuries. Now, the problem is the Rays don't lose all that often, although they did lose last night. But they were coming off a 6 or a 7-game winning streak before they lost that game to the A's last night. Had a good series, not a winning streak. It was 8 of 9 because they lost the 1 game to the Rangers over the weekend. But you look at these 2 teams, and they're 9 games out, but in very different ways. The Yankees, you do feel like, if and when Aaron Judge comes back, and that's another thing. I mean, you're seeing this report now that they're not giving you a timetable. No need to give you a timetable. Well, actually, the fans would like to know when you think he's going to be back, because that changes expectations as well. If you tell us it's going to be 6 weeks, I could see fans thinking, well, there goes the season. If you tell us it's going to be 8, 9 days, 10 days, all right, not that big a deal if they can continue to play decent ball. The Mets have just been, I listen to you a lot driving in. And
well, thank you.
I know, of course.
What can I work on to become better? Tell me what I need to do.
Anger management.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
I've tried
kidding.
to get that under control, but that's hard. When you're up at those hours and...
And a little ornery. I'm just kidding.
It depends what type of mood I'm in. Most times at that hour, it can be cranky.
It depends.
And these guys, they call to antagonize me. What do they want?
I will tell you, you had a whopper of a call from Stuart in Brooklyn 2 nights ago. We don't need to get into it. I'll just say my eyes were wide open driving in. I'm like, Sal, shut him up.
What do you want me to do? I tried. I couldn't. I didn't know what was going on.
And he just kept going and going and going.
Yeah.
Anyway, listening to you driving in a lot, when we were getting set for the season, you almost felt like you didn't, again, on paper it looks okay, but you were one of few, maybe many, I don't know, but I listen to you every day where it didn't seem like you really believed in this team because they didn't do a whole hell of a lot to upgrade the offense, which is certainly obvious now. And pitching-wise, while it looked good, you still wondered about the age of the 2 starters. Now, we didn't know Quintana was never going to pitch. And Carrasco we thought would be better, but you didn't seem like you were ever a believer in it.
It just hit me. Maybe the last time we did a show together was right after the Worthless Baseball Classic, or during that, because remember that
was about when, yes.
Right, and at that point, when they lost Diaz, you remember the reaction. We were doing it together.
Remember. Yeah, I remember.
That was, to me, like, the Mets can't overcome. I know other teams can overcome. Braves won the World Series.
But he hasn't even mattered because they haven't been good.
Well, no, to a certain extent, but obviously their bullpen has been crushed here. They could have used Diaz. My point is, when something like that happens, to me, that's a sign of it's not going to be their year. And then opening day, Verlander out for the month. Like, there are little things that happen. Where last year was almost the opposite. Everything went perfectly. It was a perfect regular season until they got swept by the Braves, and they've never recovered. But yeah, last year, after watching this team, they earned the trust, thinking that they were going to win the division. This is a good team. This year, I've never had that feel. Now, I still think they're going to make the playoffs. It would be, and I know they're a ways out of it right now.
This Met team is making the playoffs?
Yeah, 100% I do. I have to believe that they're going to make the playoffs. So you're
looking for that 15-game winning streak at some point?
No, I don't think they need a 15-game winning streak. I think they're making the playoffs. I don't think anybody else in the National League is really that good. I do think Lindor will pick it up. I do think at some point some of these guys will start to play to their baseball reference page. Jared, I'm not saying that that's an accomplishment, and I'm also not saying that just get in and you could go to the World Series like the Phillies. I'm not buying that. This Mets team is not going anywhere, but I still do think they're going to make the postseason.
I just think they look broken. I just don't think they're a good team. And I watch them every night with my son. I mean, they are, on paper they should be better. I agree with you, but it's been almost like when you look at bad teams, I always think about a bad football team. When the offense plays well, the defense doesn't stop anybody. When the defense plays well, the offense doesn't score. Well, that's kind of your 2023 Mets. When they do get good pitching performances, they give you 3 hits and 1 run, or
Right.
they get shut out. And when they do score 10 runs, nobody and their brother can shut down the other team, like in Atlanta last week. It just seemed, and then when they do hit and they do pitch, that's when the bullpen collapses. Like, I don't know if I can think of too many stretches this year. Sure, there have been a game here or a game there, but I can't come up with too many stretches where this team has put it together in every phase. And we're now in the middle of June.
Right, exactly. It's not 2 weeks in anymore or a month in anymore. I know, but still, look at the landscape. We're talking about an expanded playoff.
Understood.
You get 3 wild cards. Like right now, the Marlins are in a spot.
The Marlins are not a bad team.
Yeah,
though.
okay, so let's say the Marlins make it. The Giants are 34 and 32. The Mets are 31 and 35. They're 3 games out.
I understood.
Of all, and again, there's 5 or 6 teams, whatever, in front of them. I'm not saying that they're guaranteed to get one. I would just be, if this team with that talent doesn't turn this thing around to sneak into the postseason, which, by the way, would be a failure. Even getting into the postseason as the last wild card, that is a failure. I would be stunned.
Well, it would depend on how the playoffs go. Yes, if you get in as the last wild card and you get bounced quickly, I agree. If you actually make a little bit of a run, it will go to show that just get there. And I hate that phrase, and I hate when people do that.
Yeah.
But it is true sometimes. Just get there and you can figure it out. The problem I have with agreeing with that is I just don't know that your rotation can get you there. And I don't see any evidence that the offense is going to sit there and carry this team unless there are big moves made at the trade deadline. And I mean big moves.
I do think the offense.
I don't see it.
I think the offense will be okay, assuming Alonso comes
Based
back.
on what, though?
Well, because Alvarez has been an impact bat.
Okay.
You think
I'll give you Alvarez, and when Alonso comes back, I agree.
Okay.
McNeil's been disappointing.
He's been terrible.
Lindor's been a shell.
All right,
of what
but
he was in
you don't
Cleveland.
think he's going to pick it up at least a little
He's batting 208.
Oh, right,
or
so
210.
he's got to pick it up at some
Well,
point.
I keep saying that I'm waiting for it to happen, and it doesn't.
No, but it's early. It's still early for him. And look, maybe the Subway Series gets him going. He talked about
I
that,
hope
saying
so.
it could be a turning point. You've seen what he could do in the past a couple years ago with the 3 home run game in the Subway Series. Look, if I think their offense is going to be okay, I'm banking on Nimmo too at the top of the order.
Of course,
Marte's look better. Alonso coming back. Alvarez an impact bat, and it all matters on Francisco Lindor. If you think he's going to continue this way, then the Mets are dead. Look, there are 3 culprits. I know it's much more than that, but 3 main culprits for why the Mets are where they are. Scherzer, Verlander, and Lindor.
Yep.
All the highest paid, best players. They aren't doing squat. That's the problem. Now, I'm not going to call them mercenary pieces of crap, but they aren't doing anything. I think that's just rude myself, but
I think we've actually called them more so far this year. I really do. I mean, you think about some of these, I don't want to say efforts because they're going out there and trying, but when you think of some of the performances that they've given,
right.
I mean, some of the phone calls that we have fielded and some of the things that hosts have said, and not wrong, because when you're making the $42 million a year, that's what you have to absorb. You're going to have to take all the slings and arrows that are going to come your way when you stink.
And I do think they're aware of it. At least
have to be.
With Verlander had the comments the other day. He was basically accountable, saying, "I'm not getting paid, this much money to pitch like this." Yeah, you're right. Now you got to go out there and do something about it. And look, maybe tonight starts it for the Mets. Who knows? Maybe it starts for the Yankees. A little bit of a turnaround as well for them because they have not been good losing. One of the Yankees, even without Judge, Jerry, losing 4 of 6 at home to the White Sox and Red Sox. Like that just doesn't happen.
It goes to show how much he matters.
Yeah.
Like he is everything in that lineup.
But then don't you think there's a flaw with the way that they're built? If we've
discussed this for years
right.
now. I mean, yeah, the way they're built, they're built to win games in the regular season, hit home runs, and then they falter in the playoffs.
Are we overlooking Harrison Bader as well, who I would argue is the second most valuable player?
Yeah, I think he
behind
matters,
Judge. Because he mattered when he came back in that series in Tampa. You saw a difference. He's out. Now Judge is out. And how do they have the gall to field a lineup where Judge is out, Bader's out? Why can't Stanton DH?
Well, it's called the maintenance day, Sal.
Right, a maintenance day. It's like the old saying, you don't need to play, you just need to kick. Well, you don't need to play, you just need to hit. You're a DH.
I'm with you.
You've been off for 3 months. You've got 2 off days this week. They were off Monday, they're off Thursday. Like, play. I don't understand it. Some of the Yankees' problem, this is predetermined stuff with these lineups, with the pitching changes. They're their own worst enemy at times. And by the way, they're still good. Like, look at their record. They're still good. 9 games over 500.
There's just not a lot of, again, as they sit right now with Judge out, there's not a lot of belief in them, for me, in terms of them making any type of run until he gets back. And then the issue there is you don't know when he's coming back. And also, is the pitching going to hold up? And Garrett Cole's been, I think, really good. I tell you, he's an interesting character, too, because when we talk about great pitchers, I feel like he gets overlooked because he's not the showy type. He's not all the gyrates on the mound. He just goes out and he just does his job, and he is there every fifth day, and he does his job really well.
I think one of the hardest things to find in sports, maybe in life, Jared, is consistency, reliability, something you could count on.
Consistency, Al. That's what we're talking about. Consistency.
And that's what, for an athlete, it's invaluable for a team to know that you could count on such and such. Garrett Cole gives you that. He's there every fifth day. All right, he gives up a couple of home runs, and that's been his bugaboo since he's been here. But, man, he has been one of the best pitchers in baseball every fifth day. That is something that, look at what the Yankees would be without him. We talk about
nothing.
I mean, imagine with no Garrett Cole bringing that stable force in that rotation, dominating every 5 days. So he's been great, and he does get overlooked. You're right.
It is. It's funny with the injuries because I say it over and over, and we watch these hockey guys, and we've been talking about this the last couple of days just because of, Judge the toe. Alonso, listen, he's got a broken wrist or whatever the hell it is, a fractured wrist. It's certainly something. And I know he was at the Carton and Roberts event last night saying he's going to be okay. Okay, well, we'll see that when you're back on the field.
Do you think that was awkward at times where, because Evan just ripped his teammates, and then they bring out Frank the Tank, who rips everybody?
See, all I saw was the Frank the Tank part when Alonso gave him the jersey. I didn't see Evan killing the team.
And then he goes on and makes a joke about Vogelback. I'm just thinking, if I'm Alonso...
it's a tough spot.
Yeah!
That's a tough spot.
If I'm Vogelback in that spot, I'd be like, Pete, dude, really? You're hanging out with these guys who are, this guy just made a joke and you're not doing... It is a very difficult spot.
Maybe Pete knows he'll be DFA'd today.
Yeah. Well, how about the mercenary pieces of crap thing? If you're Pete and you're sitting there,
Well, that was on his podcast, was it not?
Oh, he still said it.
We say a lot.
I'm still, Pete's sitting there.
We say a lot of things.
Joking around.
You think Pete Alonso's aware of the Rico Bronya podcast?
That made pretty big news yesterday. I saw it. Awful Announcing had it.
I don't know. I mean, Pete Alonso seems a little bit out there.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it was a weird thing.
It is a weird thing. But that's what happens when you come together. Media, athlete.
Yeah, right. Which is why I stay as far away as possible. No, thank you.
To a certain extent, you do.
Yeah.
Not totally.
That is true.
All right, we'll take a break. We had a lot to do. It is Boomer and Gio, but it's Sal and Jerry in for the guys. We got Peter Schwartz in for CeeLo, who would have been in for me. So we got a cast of characters that Peter. Were there any Peter moments today, Al?
No, it was a solid, solid program.